What's going on, beautiful J4 family? Welcome to another edition of J4 Conversations. We're doing this one, Future Fathers Conversation, where I like to have beautiful young men who are at the dawn of fatherhood, contemplating it, something they want to perhaps engage. And so I like to have conversations to see where their head's at and what kind of interest they have in the conversation. So without further ado, let me introduce you all to the one and only Mr. Austin Moss II. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, AJ. I appreciate you having me on today. Just blessed for another opportunity to get to be in here and share some time with you.
Yeah, man, you too, man. I think we spent some time in the summer together, had a chance to sit with you in your office and get a sense of the wonderful work you do. And really, more importantly, man, to pick up on your spirit. I think you're going to be an excellent father, man, from what I'm picking up on. No doubt.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Now, this doesn't apply to you, Austin, but our tagline for this particular section is Men Control Your Own Reproduction. Oftentimes in the father conversation, there's a voice missing, and that is the aspiring father, the future father. So I like to have conversations to get a sense of where their head at, as also a way of speaking broadly to a dynamic that's going on in our community where 51% of our babies are born to single parent homes. Austin, sometimes you hear that number being 70%, but that's the marital status of the mother at the time of conception. It doesn't mean that men aren't in the house, but when you look at a more raw number, it's about 51% of our babies compared to 25% across all communities. And so, that's a problem. And so we're just trying to be relevant to the conversation, just having good conversation with young men about choices made when it comes to that particular space, if you understand what I mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Austin, tell the people who you are, kind of what you do on a day-to-day.
Yeah, so I am the director of player engagement for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm in my fourth season with the team. And in my role, I'm responsible for the personal and professional growth of all of our football players on the team, and then helping them prepare, for life beyond the game of football once they get done. So we do a lot of work on the front end and when they get here and on their way out, just in terms of helping develop, grow, and shape the lives of these men and their families. So it's a tall task. It's a blessing to be able to serve in that position. And I've seen a lot of different, things along the way, good and bad. And prior to that, I was at the NFL League office, being as a player engagement manager, and then working in football operations. So it's been about almost 10 years total working in the NFL, and it's been a fun journey.
Well, hey, and you're excellent in what you do. You're among a community of men who play that player engagement role that kind of serves as that big brother, uncle, and maybe in some instances even a paternal role for particularly the rookies who are in the program. So kind of share with the people, because it's a coveted position that you have, man. I'm doing it at the college level. You're doing it at the highest level, the pros. And in my conversations, a lot of people want to be in the seat that you're in. So you've been in it about 10 years. So with the 49ers, what is a typical day like for you?
Well, in season, we are here early. Football, the meeting started about 7:15 or 7:30 in the morning. I try to get here about 5:45 every day and get my workout in or do some stretching, some steam room sauna. That's just kind of my process to help, start my day before things start coming in with our athletes. So get here at 5:45, and then making sure everybody's here on site. Sometimes there may be a delay or somebody catch a flat tire or something. So communicating any type of issue that may come up with the coaching staff, and then too, just checking in on players. A lot of people, they see the results on Sunday, but there's so much work that's put into it, man. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way up leading to that game. And in my role, I'm responsible for holding pretty much everybody accountable, to the standard we have as a team, and then the standard they have for themselves. So, from our rookies who meet with me every other week throughout the season, to even, some of our older guys and veterans, just staying on top of them. If I see a guy falling off, make sure, I come up to them, see what's going on, check on their situation. And then, as the day goes on, I have some administrative meetings that I'm in, whether it's with our personnel office, our team. I go to team meeting to get the messaging from our head coach and what he's sharing with the players in terms of our, keys to victory and what it takes to win.
Right.
And then, really re-emphasizing that throughout the week and making sure guys are adhering to their routine. So it's a balance of, checking in with people and having conversations and going around the locker room and then going out to practice, watching practice, assessing body language, and then doing my administrative work in terms of, setting up my meetings. So whether I have a guest speaker in or I'm
Right.
facilitating a session, and then going throughout the week with the game schedule.
Man, that's a full day, brother. That's a full day. 5:45.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So do that and probably get out of here about 6:37 most nights. And then, Fridays that towards the end of the week, it gets a little bit shorter. But it's, 7 days a week once the season starts all the way till it ends. So it's a
Right.
grind and it's not for everybody, but it's a blessing and I love doing it.
No doubt, no doubt. And you guys are turning the season around. I know you got the Vikings coming up. Good luck in that game there, no
Thank
doubt.
you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. So I know you do presentations. You bring folks in to chop with the young men. Uh, do you ever explore sort of father-themed conversations with them?
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of different topics that we touch on throughout the year. And we have a lot of new fathers, within our locker room. We know
Mm-hmm.
during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, COVID, there wasn't a lot of
Yeah,
things going
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Somehow we have a surplus of babies right now within our locker room. So
Okay.
a lot of new fathers that are trying to navigate that space while also looking to, solidify themselves in this league as a player, if they're in that first contract in years 1 through 4. So that can be a lot. So I have these conversations with our players, asking them about how it's going, what are their challenges, try to help, talk about the values that were instilled in me. And I'm fortunate that I came from, a family with a 2-parent home.
Okay.
My father was around. I'm named after my father, and I'm very
Right.
thankful for how he poured into my life and showed me what it meant to be a man.
Right.
And in this role, I have the opportunity to do the same thing. There's a lot of different walks of life that are in our locker room. Some people that came from 2-parent homes and some people that came from very broken situations. But I get to spend more time with these guys than anybody. And
Yep.
I can understand. I know when somebody's dealing with something, and I pride myself in being solution oriented and helping these guys do the right thing as fathers and help them understand what it means to be a father.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of times for young men who may not have had a biological present, it's those intergenerational kind of connections that they feed off of. If they're in the world of sport, coaches can provide that, but also many folks like yourself who really see them, for the large proportion of the time, and can pick up on those body cues that you talked about a little bit earlier, and kind of swoop in there and be a helpful ear or a helpful voice. So, men out there, even though you may not be related to a particular young man, you never know when that young man needs an ear or just some words of encouragement, particularly in absence of a strong parental presence.
Yeah.
All right, so let's shift to fatherhood. Do you have any children, Austin?
No, I don't have any right now. I hope to have some one day.
Okay, so you hope to have some. All right.
Yes.
And you mentioned that your dad was present there with your mom, and do you and your pop still communicate pretty regularly?
Yeah, we talk multiple times a week. And I'm thankful that he's still here because I know a lot of men, that never had a father in their life or their father has passed away. So I definitely don't take that for granted. Just, his wisdom and advice, when I'm dealing with certain things, to be able to call or text and get his opinion,
Mm-hmm.
or to just, check in on him and get a laugh for the day. It's really, really a blessing to have him. And I'm thankful for all the values he taught me.
Yes, sir.
He's a faith-driven man and taught me what it meant to, provide for your family, love your family. And he gave me all the opportunity in the world to succeed. And I wouldn't be here today without him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's so good that you have someone to check in with. I'm 53. My dad is 76, and he and I touch base almost pretty much daily. He's coming off some major surgery, and obviously that brings a certain extra closeness for us. But that touch in with the pop, man, that's something that we need to do and do it regularly. Sometimes when you're a younger man, I don't know how old you are, Austin, but we get caught up in life. But the old man anchors us, and regardless of age, man, keep in regular communication with pop, and we as the sons need to initiate, right?
Facts, yeah, man. I'm 34 years old, Alonzo.
Okay.
And, again, I'm the youngest of four, so my dad's 69, will be 70 next year. And, in my family, in the line of men on the Moss side of the family, many of us don't live to be, past 55. And to know that, like, he's still here and he's in good condition. And I never take that for granted. And I always want to try to call and make sure I FaceTime and see him. And the harder part, too, is being all the way out on the West Coast. He's based in Kentucky. Right. So there's a 2-hour time difference there. And then, the schedule here, when I told you it's 6 in the morning, basically, to 7 o'clock at night, right. You can easily get sidetracked or just caught up in your day. But just making sure it's a priority to reach out and touch base and share that love.
Okay. Now, you say you're 34. Beautiful. The average age of a first-time father is roughly around 27. So you've taken your time, and I know I've been very intentional, with your career, with whatever relationships. But 34, are you anxious? Are you ready to kind of become a dad, or come when it comes? Where's your head at?
I mean, for the longest, I was so focused on my career and wanted to make sure I was, established enough to, provide for a family. And, I didn't want to have any children out of wedlock. And, I hadn't yet met the woman that I was ready to, create that process with. So just staying focused on my goals and outlining that was really important. And now that I feel like that, I'm in that place to be able to take that step. I can't wait for it, honestly. Like, I'm really looking forward to being a father, but at the same time, I'm not forcing it. I have a serious girlfriend now that we're dating and continuing to get to know each other and spend time, and that's great. But again, I hope that step is for us in the near future.
Okay, so you got a serious lady?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, do y'all have these kind of? I'm sure there's conversations about the relationship, but I'm in a father space over here. Do y'all talk about children and those kind of things?
Yeah, we actually talked about it last night. Like,
okay.
It was just a random deal. I was, honestly, I came home and I was pretty tired just from, we had a road trip where we were in Jacksonville this weekend, and take us a 5-hour flight back, and then you're right back in here Monday. We got back here, late Sunday night, and then, sometimes when you want to reset yourself, I just felt like I hadn't been able to reset. So yesterday I was, feeling pretty drained, and I looked at it, I was like, man, like, if we had a kid and I had to come home and feed it and put it to bed right now, I'm not going to front. Like, I'd be hurting. But I just, I look forward to that opportunity. But we do talk about those things and, how we would go about it and the different sacrifices that you have to make in order to do so.
Yeah. Well, babies have superpowers. No matter how tired you are, you walk in the house and boom, right? They give you that eye, they give you that giggle, that goo, whatever the case may be. Or as they get older, they bum rush you at the door. Yeah. So it's just this kind of euphoric additional kind of energy that you get. You'll realize your kids have superpowers, and sort of bringing that out. Well, hey man, that's beautiful that you and your lady are talking about it. Even in relationships, let alone poor decisions made with someone that you just recently met. A lot of times, children are born out of a lot of times, fathers are told they're a father, right?
Yeah.
There was no planning for it, So. As young men are courting and they've come to a conclusion that this person is someone that I want to kind of continue to grow and go forward with, definitely have intentional conversations about producing children, the when, the timing of that, the shared joy, and then the questions about shared values. How do we raise the kids? Those are all fun conversations in relationships, but also critical, so that you make a baby out of preparation and not necessarily passion, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's so real, man. And I had to talk to my players about that all the time. Oftentimes these young men, more times than not, they didn't necessarily plan for the child to come. So even, when they are expecting, to sit to say, hey man, like, have y'all sat down and talked about, how you handling things financially? How are you going to, handle things for values from a spiritual standpoint, a lifestyle standpoint? What does that look like in a discipline standpoint? Who's going to do what? So those are a lot of really key points you have to have.
Yeah. Young men have been capable of producing children since they're 15, right? It's a part of our biology. A lot of us play in certain kind of ways, man, but to produce a child is an eternal, lifelong kind of commitment. So it warrants something that significant, would have a lot of pre-significance conversation and preparation for it. So, man, hats off for chopping with the brothers. What do you most look forward to about being a pop?
Just to continue the legacy. I'm thankful. Everybody asks, what's your why? And I do what I do because I want, to honor my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but I also want to make, my family proud of my last name. I'm named after my father, and he told me, two things when I left the house. He said, "Don't come back and don't mess up my name."
Hey,
So
literally, right?
yeah. So taking pride in that, it's been a really key value for me and wanting to succeed and do things at a high level. So I hope that same, burn and desire exists in my offspring, whether it's a daughter or a son. And then just wanting to pour, into somebody. I get to do that all the time with these young men. But to actually do that with somebody that's your own blood and to help, show them life and experience life, through them, with them. That's one of the greatest gifts of life in general. So I really look forward to that.
If it's a boy, are we gonna go to the third? What you gonna do?
Ooh, that's pressure. That's pressure.
You don't have to answer. I know your dad
Yeah,
might have
yeah.
to. You
I'm
still
still on
working on
the
that.
fence. Yeah, still working on that.
How many children would you like to have?
Man, at 34 now, it's tough, but I'd like to have two, ideally, and if a third or fourth comes, great, but definitely would want to have two. Just
Right.
because I know I grew up with siblings and I knew how cool it was for me to have, big sisters and a big brother. That was a really cool experience. So I would love for my children to have, siblings.
Yeah. I was the only child, and man, it can. Well, this is pre-internet, pre-Atari, pre-technology.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it can get pretty boring, brother. It get pretty long. Yeah. And then now I have 6 kids, and they're essentially stair steps of each other.
Wow.
I wouldn't. I mean, you have as many kids as you want, but after three, the financial numbers get ridiculous. In fact, let's kind of go there. Do you know how much they say on average it costs to raise a child from birth to 18?
Whew. Man, I'd probably guess 400,000
Well, maybe you're high living, yeah.
out here in
The way
California.
Amos live, maybe so. No, but they say on average it's about 200,000. About
200,000. Okay.
200,000 to raise a kid, on average. But that number is just going to increasingly go up and up and up. So there's certainly a planning, but there's also a very real financial reality to raising beautiful seeds.
Yeah.
All right. So you talked about what you're looking forward to. What scares you? What is
Man,
daunting about pending fatherhood?
just the unknown,
Yeah.
you just never know what you're going to get sometimes, but again, I think that's where your faith comes, and you have to push through, whatever that may be. There's always going to be challenges, but you just hope that your offspring will, be one that listens and follows your direction, but also, is open and willing to be honest about who they are and how they feel, etc. So, kind of, the same thing in the locker room that I experienced. I just, you don't ever want to be surprised with anything, whether it's a tragedy or something, dealing with somebody's dealing with something that you may not know. So you just hope that you can be a good enough parent to where that offspring of yours feels comfortable, sharing whatever they're going through in life, and that you can be there to support them.
Yeah. Austin, you're well ahead of the game, brother. There's a great fathers group called Black Fathers on Facebook. I like to follow it to kind of get a sense of the pulse of fathers, but a lot of them admit sort of a parenting in the dark, meaning, especially if they didn't have an example of a in the house parent. Parenting in the dark, right? The baby is intensely there, high. You got to really keep up with them when they're first born. But each day, because they don't have a pattern or a memory to call upon, they're just fathering in the dark, right? But in your case, you've been in a parent kind of role for the young men that you have cared for on a day-to-day basis with the 49ers there. And so things are going to be familiar to you, especially as they get a little bit older and they can understand language and those kind of things. So you're well ahead of the game. And then you mentioned siblings. I don't know if your siblings have any children. Are you an uncle?
Yeah, I am. So I get a lot of experience. I have a total of six, 3 nieces and 3 nephews that, they're all age range from, 2 years old to 16 years old and driving now. So that's really cool to get to spend time with them and be the cool uncle right now that they can be open and honest with and not be afraid. So I really cherish that role as well.
Yeah, uncling is the closest thing to fathering, right? Because there's that intimate love there, the appropriate level of love, and then especially if you got to spend time with them and you're in that kind of Papa Bear mode, right? And so, no, brother, your background and experience is positioning you well for father. So let's talk about you as a dad. Are you you gonna be at the kids' games?
Oh yeah, I'll probably be coaching. I'll probably doing everything. Cutting up oranges, bringing the slices to the game. I can't wait to be that type of father, man. Just heavily involved, and I was again thankful that I had my parents and cheering me on, and just to have that support and love. Whether you play well, you didn't. Or you didn't play well, and to just get that feedback and uplifting talk. That was really cool. And one of my vivid memories growing up, I can't wait to do is just, to be that dad that can come home from work on a Friday and have his, either daughter or son at the house with their friends and just bring home like 5 pizzas and just let everybody, hang out and have a good time.
Yeah. You'll find you'll bring those memories in with you, right? And you'll want to recreate in the new generation the memories for your own seeds. We pull from our children, we pull from our memories to help give definition to a current time, right? And that's the power of 2-parent households, both the said and unsaid, the observed, right? And so when we're looking for cues on how to create fun and create memories for our children, we often try to replicate the ones that we had. So, all right, you're gonna be present at the games. You're gonna be that yelling dad. You're gonna be that cool dad. You're gonna be the taking notes dad with her.
No, I'll probably be sitting back taking notes and just giving feedback after the game. I definitely don't want to be that helicopter parent that's always trying to tell the coach how to coach or the player what to do on the court. But I'm thankful I've had experiences as a student athlete and then seeing these athletes perform at a high level, and I hope that I can share some valuable insight just in terms of how to overcome adversity and how to push yourself to perform at a high level, and those are the cool conversations that I look forward to having. But also letting that child do their thing and be who they are, whether it be on the court or the field, and just support them throughout it.
No doubt. For those of you joining us, welcome. We're having a conversation with Mr. Austin Moss, a director of player engagement for the San Francisco 49ers and a future father. That's what this conversation is about. If you have questions for Austin, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'd love to address them. Austin, what was your sport coming up?
Man, I played everything. I was baseball, basketball, football. So I kept my parents busy year round. My brother's 3 years older than me. He was a basketball and a soccer player. And between both of us, we were always in some type of gym or on some type of field. So I loved competing growing up. And we were both fortunate enough to play college athletics. We both played at the University of Kentucky. He played basketball there, and I played football there. And surprisingly enough, we were both walk-ons. So he had a great career there as a basketball player. And then, I was a part of the group that helped, turn the program around and go to some bowl games consecutively at Kentucky. So that was a cool experience in itself to go there as, not one of the, recruits that got a scholarship, but somebody that went and earned a scholarship, after my junior year. So that was a rewarding experience. And then, again, growing up, man, I loved competing and being involved in all those sports.
Right. So the Moss family has their name imprinted on Kentucky. That's what's
yeah.
up.
We bleed blue, and we're good friends, and support the athletic department as much as we can.
Beautiful. As dads, we tend to try to live vicariously through our children, right? So, we have a particular sport that we really like or are passionate about. We want our children to lean that way. That's natural. But just like you had a variety of experiences, it's so powerful to expose your beautiful seeds and then let them gravitate naturally to what they might find passion in, even if it's not kind of in our own journey. So this piece you talk about exposure, that's a critical piece, man.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Like I think oftentimes in today's athlete, you're seeing a lot of specialization in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
there's year-round baseball now, there's year-round basketball. Like you can do pretty much everything year-round. But for me, I felt like I was a better athlete because I played other sports. Like
Right.
you can burn out a lot of if you're using the same muscles and ligaments consistently, you can have a high rate of burnout and injury. But
Mm-hmm.
there's different movement required in basketball than there is in football. There's different movement in baseball and in soccer. So I think the more you can play, the more well-rounded you'll be as an athlete. There's less wear and tear on your body and certain joints from that perspective. And then two, I think you get to learn all the different values that are taught within different sport. Like football is unique in that it's 11 people on each side of the ball, all working together to try to accomplish one goal. And then in basketball, it's 5 individuals that are working together as a team. So those dynamics are different.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer is very different, and baseball too. So the more you can play, in my opinion, the better. But also, like you said, letting that kid find out which one he gravitates more towards. I know
Yeah.
it's me as a former college football player. Yeah, I'd love my son to play football, but if
Right. Right.
he's a hooper
Right.
and he loves playing basketball, then let him do that. Just because I think they'll find more joy and passion in it, and they'll love that parent even more for letting them be who they who they feel like they're meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's beautiful. I have a robotics major, an opera singer, a PhD, volleyball player, track athlete, and a leadership track kind of person. And the only way we were able to find that out is going bankrupt. No, I'm kidding, but families, yeah, you got to invest not only in sports but obviously the arts, literature, things that they kind of lean into, especially when you have a lot of kids, and they're going to have different personalities and interests. But you got to invest both physical time, financial resources, give them that exposure, and then ask those questions about, hey, what do you like, what do you enjoy, and then at some point, you kind of narrow into those particular areas. So that's powerful. What's your non-negotiables with your children? What are what are going to be your priorities? Like for my family, it was education. I mean, the very few times I would go berserk on the kids is if I didn't think the books were where they needed to be.
Yeah.
What's going to be your family non-negotiables?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Education. I knew I wasn't able to compete if my grades weren't together and I didn't have my assignments in. So that'll be a non-negotiable. That'll definitely be a non-negotiable. And then just respect at the end of the day. Making sure that that child respects the parent because there is a lot of sacrifice, as you said, financial sacrifice, time, and energy that's going into it. And in the moment, I feel like you've taken that for granted and you're not respecting, the sacrifice that I'm making as a parent, then, we can take that privilege away because again, it's not your right to be able to play sports. It is an extracurricular, activity and something that you have to earn. So as long as that child is committed to earning that privilege on a consistent basis, then we're good.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, excuse the interruption here. Granddad just showed up for Thanksgiving. Speaking of granddad, uh, Austin, you gonna be a lenient dad or you gonna be that strict dad? What you gonna be?
I'm probably gonna be strict, man. I'm not gonna lie. I grew up in a household where my father he set standards, and there were certain standards that you had to meet in order to get the opportunity to play, but also just what it meant to be a Moss and hold that last name as a man. And that's what I see oftentimes, Alonzo, in this recruiting process or really evaluation process with Combine. It's like, man, like these young men that I get to go interview and spend time with either at the Combine or All-Star games, like it's just such a stark difference between an athlete that had a father or a father figure in their life versus not having one. And when you do have a male influence, a positive male influence that can help, again, outline, what it means to be a man and a standard of behavior and character and respect and discipline, man, it sets you so much far apart, from everybody else and puts you on track to be successful no matter what you do. So I think that's critical, and I take great pride and responsibility and wanting to be, again, a father that sets standards and strict to a certain extent, but also, loving and also providing that unconditional support.
Man, I'm so glad to hear you say that, man. A lot of times, there's some challenge contemporary way on rigid gender roles. And I was born in '68. I highly believe in gender roles. I like the pathway of being mindful of the character of your child, respect, prioritization of education, right? Being mindful of the man they are, and going from that posture first. And then kind of when you see where they're at, of course you want to pull up a little bit, right? You want to have variance in your parenting style, but to lean mindful of who they're going to be and to be ready to step in as needed. Maybe a different word for strict would be, sort of very focused. But love that you're saying that. And then especially if your counterpart, your partner, can then provide the more nurturance, care kind of thing, so you're raising children on balance.
Right. Yeah, man. That's so important to, and again, that's another great conversation to have with your partner, just to talk about, the type of care and again, either discipline or standards you'll put in place within the home. That way, the child can't play mom versus dad or dad versus mom.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah.
Which Austin, which holiday you just gonna go all out on, man? Which one's gonna be your holiday?
Ah, my holiday. Let's see, man. I'll probably say I love the summer, but I think I'll do birthdays. Honestly, man. I just after obviously what we saw in the pandemic and not being able to connect and be with people and have experiences. I think one of the coolest parts of life is being able to reflect on an experience that you had. And I think the birthdays always create a great opportunity to provide an experience, whether it's just you and that child doing something together one on one, or you hosting a party, or you going on a trip or doing those type of things. So I think I'll take a lot of pride in making birthdays as special as possible.
Yeah, birthdays are where memories are created. Holidays are shared; those are family. But it's that one day where you kind of go to sleep anticipating it, and you wake up and it's your day, right?
Yeah.
And if we can make that special in our children, I mean, sort of extra special. Again, we're building those memories.
Yeah.
Big A, one last question for you, and then I'll see if you have any questions. You're 34, you're past this phase. Obviously, you talked about intentional parenting, but what's going on in these young man streets and condoms? I'm hearing this term called raw dog, where these cats they're talking about the feeling ain't like what it needs to be, and they just out here in these streets, not realize they've been capable of having a child since they were 15. What
Yeah.
are you hearing? What are you seeing? And what is this about? What does the old man need to understand?
I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot going on. A lot of unprotected sex happening. Raw dog. We talk about it in our locker room. It's fun. Like I could step over here right now and pour this big jar I have, but it's a jar full of condoms that I keep here in the office. Just because, again, I don't want guys to have an excuse, be like, "Oh, I didn't have time to go to the store." Blah blah blah. Like they're here on site. But I think what we're running into, AJ, is that we're so consumed with media, right? And then now, it used to be when I was growing up, and probably way before, you said you didn't even have a lot of media in your household. But when I was growing up, I used to have to get my information from a verified source, a parent or a sibling, or somebody in the community, in terms of, hey, like, what do I do, what do you do when you have sex, what does it feel like, etc. But now you can get on YouTube, you see sex, you can get on internet, you can see it on TV. And oftentimes, like, even if it's not pornography, you see the act happening on regular TV, but you never see somebody reaching for contraception or reaching to protect themselves. So you're already getting a 13, 14, 15-year-old that's seeing sex on a very consistent basis, and they've never, even seen somebody utilize those things. So unless they're getting it in sex education in, middle school or high school, then it hasn't become a common practice anymore. And it's really, scary, because again, we're starting to see more teenage pregnancies and sexual transmitted diseases all across, and there's just a lot of unintended consequences from the increase in technology we have now that's available to our youth. So that's a big problem. And then again, in music and in culture, pop culture, nobody's really talking about it. It's not the cool thing to do. So we got to find a way now to, make it cool in some way possible, because again, it's a scary situation, and it can get really ugly out there if you can continue to use, have unprotected sex.
Yeah, also, we started off kind of playful, raw dog and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you bring up a good point, man. The hypersexualization of the world, the US, mass access to varying technological information sources. We talked about porn, and those kind of things. But, young men out there, you got to realize you've been capable of having a child since you were 15. Your mind is still developing even at 18, 19, 20. To participate in that act, that's your business. I don't care how you do that. That's not my role. But should you partake in that, man, you got to make a baby out of preparation and not passion. And men have two forms of birth control. That is a condom or abstinence, right? And whatever pathway you choose to go, young men out there listening in, if you all decide to lay down with a woman, you got to have a condom. You got to have it in your car, your wallet, your backpack, your drawer, wherever you might find yourself in a situation where intimacy could occur. You got to have protection. On average, 200,000 a year. I mean, up to 18 to raise a child, and you want to do that with someone that you've talked this out with. Make a baby with someone you love rather than to be told you did by someone you don't. Austin,
you hit the nail on the head with that one, man. Like, again, that's the reason, I'm fortunate that, again, at 34 years old, I haven't had that. But again, I was so focused on not wanting to be in that position where, okay, now all my finances would have to go to that, versus, now I'm connected to this woman that I may not, love or may love for the next 18 years, etc. And like that risk of putting that, up versus a feeling, it was just never worth it to me. So just think about, all the byproducts that comes from wanting to have protected sex. Again, the risk of having a child, and then also, again, the sexually transmitted diseases that are out there. Man, it ain't cute when you got to sit there and go to the doctor and say, hey, I got these bumps or something ain't right. Like that's not a good look.
Yeah, is the pleasure worth the pressure?
Right.
Is the sex worth the stress?
Yeah.
I'm improvising here, right? But, a part of it is the age set. There's an impulsivity that's consistent with the age set. This is not a negative commentary on the 18 to 22-year-old, the warrior class that I like to call them. But there's a certain kind of man, I'm going to live forever, man. Let me just kind of be in this thing, at 100. But man, we got to step back and realize we're going to be older than we are right now. And a part of us always has to protect that future you. And if that future you is a father, right, do that out of intentional planning. Austin, I know you're having these conversations in the locker room with the beautiful men. I truly appreciate you spending some time with me. Any last words you want to say in this fatherhood or coming of age young man process as we close?
I would just love to ask you, AJ, man, what advice do you have for me? Just, as again, somebody that hopes to have a child within the next 2 to 3 years. And, what advice would you give for a future father?
In your case, because you're 34, I would say think through what are your non-negotiables and what you need in a partner. Okay. Mm-hmm. Think, I don't know how long y'all been dating, but, there's intense, oh my God, this woman's beautiful, right? There's that intensity of it, right? Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. You want to go through that. That's the man, that gets your blood going, right? Mm-hmm. But work through that phase and get back to a stage where your mind is kind of more reasoned, right? You still see love and beauty and partnership in them, but you're out of that high infatuation phase. Yeah. It's in that reason stage that you want to, make a very honest assessment with yourself. Can I see myself being with this human being forever? And what are your non-negotiables that you have to have? And are you capable of meeting her non-negotiables? I say all this to say is because that conversation, that agreement, that clarity should occur before you then get off the birth control or start to go down the road towards a child. If you don't take the time to vet personally and together who you are as a relationship, and you continue to just not address the unanswered question, you just kind of let it slide for whatever reason, and then you have a child, but y'all haven't really come to solid consensus on who you are as a relationship, that then could possibly lead to divorce. I do not want men to leave their children.
Yeah.
I do not want men to father children and then leave them psychologically or literally, right? So do what's necessary from a mature stance, that when you produce the child, you've already vetted the relationship, and then you all will move down the road. Our communities are divorcing at alarming rates. About 26% of Black women are getting married. 51% of our babies, compared to 25%, are born to single parent situations. That needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also condom use. But for those who are couples, vet each other, man. Vet each other, right? Have difficult conversations. And once that's occurred, man, go live life, raise beautiful babies, create time with grandchildren. That's where our living needs to be, and not so much in this impulsivity of producing children, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate that. That's real. Thank you.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, man, is think of rituals. Begin to think of rituals that you want to do with your child. For example, as soon as your wife tells you, y'all look at the pregnancy test together, and they says, "Hey, I'm pregnant," right? That should be a moment of joy. It should be no angst, should be no frustration, because you planned it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When your mind is kind of in isolation, and you're thinking about this pending life that you produced in partnership with another person, write a letter to your child. Write it being mindful that they'll read it at some point, maybe when they're 10, and they can go back into Pop's mindset, right? What were you thinking? What was the time like? What was what was mom doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you preparing for your child, right? Think of rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Think of rituals. That's just one. I have several rituals, but that's one to just kind of put in your back pocket when it comes.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's cool. It reminds me of that book I read this summer, the Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me, where he was writing to his son of just about, his experiences as a Black man and what, to share with us. So that's powerful.
Big A, you're going to be a great husband. You're going to be a great father, because you're already a great mentor to other young men. I truly appreciate you spending time with me as my family is hyping up.
No, thank you, man. I'm so blessed to have you in my life as a mentor and a good friend. And I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with the family. And, if there's anything I can do, man, don't be afraid to reach out.
No, I appreciate you. Hey, thank you so much. Look forward to more conversations. Thank you, family, for joining the J4 Conversation. This is Future Father Conversation with the one and only Mr. Austin Moss. If you enjoyed what you heard, please give us a subscribe, share, comment, whatever works for you. Thank you guys so much. All love. Right. Peace, peace, peace.
Peace.
We logging out, eh?